Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. We're so glad you're with us for this episode of Stay Curious. Today, beside me, we've got Ozzie Osband,
Hey, Mark.
self-proclaimed rocket hobo,
You bet.
and he's out there at Spaceview Park for decades, providing some facts and entertainment to people from all over the world that come out there and watch launches. Ozzie, great to have you back on Stay Curious.
Thank you. Yeah, I like to go out and watch launches. In fact, it's why I live in Titusville, actually. I'm out there for every launch, no matter what time of day or night. And I drag an amplifier with me. I plug in my phone and bring up the launch audio so that we know what's going on out there. I'll admit, I sometimes get a complaint. Usually it's, could you turn that up a bit?
Yeah, could you turn that up a bit? She had a green shirt on our green screen, but you should have this Rocket Hobo patch on there because that's what you're known for out there.
Yep.
And we're going to see some pictures of you with this patch here in a few minutes.
A friend of mine had those made up years ago for me. And he recently retired and gave me the whole box that he still had left.
Well, good. Well, good. Well, we've got Kevin Pettit likes the fact that he's watching today. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
And he said he'd sure like to buy one of these patches.
Not a problem.
But Kevin, we're going to send you one for free. Just PM me at your name on Facebook there with your address, and we'll get you one of these patches out there. Well, you only charge what for them?
Out in the park, about $5.
Yeah.
And by mail, $10. Cover postage and everything.
We'll take care of you, Kevin Pettit, out there. And anybody else, stick in our comments there to Marty, and we'll figure out a way for you to put our address on the back of a $20 bill, and and send it to us there. Marty, my co-producer, is holding up a sign there. We've got a little sound delay.
Yeah, about 1 or 2 second delay.
Okay. Well, we're sorry about that. We can't always control the airwaves of however this thing's being broadcast around the world.
Yeah.
But so hopefully that'll straighten itself out. We don't know how to solve that right now, but thank you for letting us know.
Out in the park, when we get the audio feed, it's usually 30 to 40 seconds behind because you have to go from the Cape, usually out to Hawthorne, to SpaceX headquarters, and then come back somehow, and then go over the air. Mm-hmm. So we're usually 40 or 50 seconds behind on the audio out there. So my watch, I set to time.gov. So I know it's set to a good atomic clock, usually out in Colorado. But when I give a countdown off my watch in the park, when I say 0, that puppy on the launch pad usually just lights up and goes.
Yes, and we saw a launch today.
Yes.
That's why I dragged you away from Spaceview Park. We'll see a couple pictures I took out there today of Ozzie on that. I didn't print out my slideshow, Marty, but I think I'll just go with it raw here to entertain everybody. We got a lot of slides from out there at Spaceview Park and tell you where it is. We know some of you have been out there, including the artist or two artists of this piece of work by Mr. Chris Calley. Chris was out there. He is Paul Calley's son, the renowned artist from the Apollo era. And Chris and his dad have done over 40 U.S. American stamps.
Nice.
That you'd all be familiar with. This is Chris's collage of Artemis with a photograph that Mark Usiak took of Artemis in there. And we're going to try to sell some of these for Chris here. He has a website, it's CalleySpaceArt.com. And they can fix you up with this beautiful print of this poster there. Because are we going to launch Artemis or not? Ozzie here?
Yes, we are.
Fooling with us?
Exactly when, we're not certain, but we are going to launch it.
And right now it's scheduled for when?
I believe November 12th.
And that's a Sunday night at,
I think so.
That's the 14th, actually. Monday morning at 12:07. So that'd be the night of Sunday, the 13th of November.
The schedule I usually check is at spaceflightnow.com.
Yes.
And in their drop-down menu, I hit launch schedule.
There you go.
That is my most trusted source for finding out when launches are.
Spaceflightnow.com, a good resource there. Stephen Clark is the gentleman that manages that, and I'd like to get him on Stay Curious, and just hadn't had time to build that bridge yet with you, Stephen, but I know you, and you know we're out there staying people curious. I put this up there. Marty, we're invited to 2 premieres. The one tonight is called out of Kennedy Space Center. When We Were Shuttle is tonight, and that is a project by the Miami Public Television, WMFE and WUCF, Central Florida and Miami combined. They interviewed a lot of people around here. That's tonight, and it's a VIP invite that we're going to. Tomorrow night, let me go back there. We're going to the Rocketeers, which is the Solid Brothers. Silas and Jean-Luc, the grandsons of rocket pioneer Lee Solid, have been working for several years on a documentary about the Apollo era. So we're going to go see that Friday night. So we'll tell you all about that in there. And but before we get started with you, I'm going to put my birthday hat on here for a special lady's birthday. There she is, Miss Julie Payette, the second Canadian in space, female Canadian. She was born in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, on this date, October 20th, in whatever makes her 59 years old. All right. when is that going? 50? No, not 53. That should be 69. So she'd been 54, I guess. I mean, she's 59. 2 space shuttle missions, 25 days in space on STS-96 in 1999 and STS-127. 96 was the first docking to the space station, and they delivered 4 tons of supplies and dropped off the first crew. They didn't drop the first crew off. That would be later. And 127 was an interesting mission, Ozzie, where Julie Payette was one of 13 astronauts from 5 different countries on board the International Space Station, which was a record until last week when we had 14 in space. Yes. We had 11 on the space station. Where were the other 3?
Probably in the shuttle at the time, but it would be
no. Last week, the other 3 were orbiting in the Heavenly Palace of China.
Yes.
People forget that China's got
they have their own space station now.
Space station, and there's 2 men and a woman on that. Anyway, Julie Payette was the 29th General Governor of Canada for 5 years, from 2017 to 2021. And that was carrying out the Canadian duties of the monarchy and the royal family. And she was called Her Excellency and the Right Honorable Julie Payette. But would love to see her do a talk out at the Visitors Complex sometime. But we wish her on Stay Curious a happy 59th birthday. Had a couple of other pictures over there. There she is giving a talk. And very young looking lady. There she is on the Canadian government parliament there. But she's out of that now. That she's so amazing. She isn't behind the scenes in politics. But Ozzie, she speaks French, English, Spanish, Italian, Russian, and German.
Very
plays
cool.
piano, and she is an excellent singer. Has sung with the Montreal Symphony in Switzerland and Toronto. So happy birthday to Julie Payette. No, I'm not going to sing it to her. Well, there you are, buddy. Tell a little bit about where you grew up, how you got interested in space, and here you are. Why are you responsible for the area code of our county being 321? And your personal phone number is what?
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
But I grew up in Rochester, New York, and kind of became a phone freak around age 12. I was just interested in telephones, how they worked. Would hang around with the telephone man when he was in the neighborhood, and just generally enjoyed playing with them and hooking them up and doing strange things with them. When I was forced to do my homework in the evening, I would have a radio with alligator clips that came off the speaker and went onto the clips of my father's bedroom phone. He worked trick work. He would work so many days, so many nights, so many midnights. And when he was working the midnight shift, he would have to go to sleep during the day. He would unplug the phone. It would wind up on the dining room table for some reason. Well, I would learn to hook up the speaker clips to the clips on the plug of the telephone so I could put the handset to my ear and work on my homework while listening to the radio. And my mom didn't know that the radio was on. So playing with phones has been a hobby of mine for decades now. And about 20 years ago or so, they decided to change the area code around here. They're going to split 407 for the usual reasons. They were running out of telephone exchanges, and I'd been through that before. When I was living in New York City, that's when they first split 212 and 718. And I went to the Public Service Commission hearing. Very interesting stuff going on there. And I think I probably gave them a comment or two just because I'm a phone freak and I had some things to say. So when they finally decided to split 407, I went to the website of the North American Unemployment Administration, NANPA, and looked up the area code list. Now, you know the list. 201 New Jersey, 202 DC, blah, 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 and various gaps marked available for geographic relief. Okay, and I'm looking down the list and going, 321, scratch, scratch. Why does that number sound familiar? Of course, the countdown. And I live in the countdown capital. Now I know what area code I want. Brought down the web browser, brought up the word processor, and began preparing my testimony for the Public Service Commission hearing. Well, I got there, and it was finally my time to speak, and I explained to them, Cape Canaveral, the countdown capital of the world. Surely the number we want is going to be 321. Well, the commissioners just loved the idea. And the next day, well, that meeting was in Orlando, at Orlando City Hall. They had these various public hearings all over the state when they were splitting area codes. So the next night was in Melbourne, Florida. I forgot to mention that I lived in Titusville. Well, I probably mentioned I lived in Titusville. I did not mention I was going to be at the Melbourne meeting. So I'm just sitting back, halfway back in the crowd, and they bring up the topic of what number the area code might become. And with the number 321, smiles all over the room. And then I got up and explained that I was there and gave my talk. And sure enough, it got determined that when they split 407, Brevard County and the area that covered 407 would split 321 as the area code. So the way I like to put it is, I asked for it. They approved it. Doesn't that mean it's my area code?
And you had a lot to do with it. That's a great story, Ozzie. And here you are.
Yep.
What are you doing there?
Well,
21 years ago.
This is the main teleconference room at the Kennedy Space Center. I'm the guy in the white hair, of course. The fellow next to me.
In a suit and a tie.
Yeah, suit and tie, yeah.
There. Yes.
And the fellow next to me is the deputy director of the Kennedy Space Center. That's because the director at the time, Mr. Bridges, was up in Tallahassee with the governor at the Public Service Commission offices, and they were actually placing the first official phone call to the 321 area code, to that telephone right there in front of us.
Wow.
And that's the deputy director pushing the button to put it on the speakerphone in the conference room there at the Kennedy Space Center.
Do you remember his name?
I don't offhand. I'm afraid I'm terribly sorry.
And that was 21 years ago, so it's 2001, huh?
Yep.
Okay, 2001, a real odyssey happened here, where 321 liftoff.
As a matter of fact, that is my telephone number.
No way.
321 liftoff, 543-8633.
Give Ozzie a call anytime, 321 liftoff.
And I get the calls.
Yes.
Even after midnight on Saturday nights, because all those engineering parties in California think about, hey, I wonder who's got that number. And it may be early in California, but it's 3 a.m. in New York or here in Florida.
All those engineering parties out there, Jet Propulsion Lab.
Yep.
And yeah. They're,
and so I get those calls.
I can see
and
it.
I love it when I get them. It's just, I just enjoy having that number and having been a part of this all.
Well, that is your legacy, part of your legacy, and it's always there, Ozzie.
Yeah.
And we're proud of you for that. When did you find the American Space Museum and become a volunteer all these years?
Oh, well, let's see. I moved to Titusville in 87. So Let's see, how many museums ago was that?
Well, so this is the 7th location, but
Right.
we've been in this one location 5 years, and it's 20. We're about the same time. 2001
Well,
is when it was.
I first found you in the Sears Town Mall,
Mm-hmm.
so that might be a clue as to when.
Right.
And but the reason I came to Titusville was a friend of mine had gotten a job with a publishing company here in town called Patch Publishing. They published Computer Shopper magazine, and I was a big fan of that magazine. I worked in a computer store in New York, and of course, you didn't have a computer store without carrying a Computer Shopper. And at some point, that store died, and I went to work for the computer shop across the town. That was operated by Stan Veet at the Computer Mart of New York. And Stan not only ran his little computer store, but he was also into publishing in a way. Always wrote for magazines and such, particularly on computer topics. And he went to work for a magazine publisher over on Park Avenue that got bought up and moved to Titusville. Well, he eventually wound up being the editor-in-chief of Computer Shopper magazine. Moved to Titusville to take that job. And a few years later, I get a phone call. Ozzie, my boss down here in Florida, is opening up a new company, and he's going to be selling airplane peddlers this computer service. He needs a guy to work tech support, and I know how good you were at tech support in our store. Would you mind coming to Florida and working for us down here? Stan, the only place in Florida I would ever consider moving to is Titusville, because it's right outside the Kennedy Space Center and the Canaveral Spaceport. Hell yes, I'll be right down.
All right.
And so that's when I came down to Florida, started working for Stan's company, Patch Communications, and did a number of things for setting up this computer deal and setting up airplanes for sale on a computer system that was actually based in Cambridge, Mass. But it was all over the internet. So it was just all local phone calls and such. And
No, we're glad you did. We're glad you did. In fact, we're looking at our green screen here, photograph I took. All the photographs you see today, I took at one time or another. It didn't look like I got a chance to enhance this one, but that's, of course, the VAB off the Vehicle Assembly Building off my shoulder over here.
Yeah, it's a good view from Spaceview Park.
9 miles, right? And from Spaceview Park, there's a couple launch pads to the left of the VAB. Left is over here. And then a couple to the right. And we're going to show you demonstrations of this. This one, of course, would be to the left of the VAB is
39A.
All right.
Now,
huh?
North of the VAB.
Yeah, I better say north of. Yeah, Marty's
That's
right.
true.
Say north.
North
And
of the
there
VAB.
is a pad right in between there.
Pad 41.
41 that
which is a
the
Boeing
Launch
pad.
Alliance uses. That's right off my shoulder, about right there.
Mhm,
Yeah,
yep.
about right there.
Now,
So
if
we're
you
gonna-
drive to
Ozzie will
Spaceview
point
Park,
that out as we show you pictures today.
if you drive to Spaceview Park, you'll wind up on Broad Street in Titusville. And at the end of the street, just walk straight into the park. All of the sidewalks point directly to pad 39A. The Mercury 7 monument here is in the Broad Street area of Spaceview Park.
Got somebody cleaning it up there, just to let you know. They do have caretakers there.
Yep.
County
Behind it,
takes care of it.
behind it, you see the bridge over to the Space Center. If you go down Garden Street and
most
continue
importantly, Merritt Island Wildlife Refuge is
Yep.
right over that bridge.
Merritt Island Wildlife Refuge, just follow that road all the way out to Playa Linda Beach, and there's a turnoff to the north entrance of the Space Center. But you have to have a pass already if you're going in that entrance.
Right.
Now, if you're going to go to the visitor complex, you need to go down south on US 1 or I-95 to 405 and just follow signs at Kennedy Space Center, and it'll take you to the visitor complex.
Marty, you got a question or comment there from one of our Stay Curious watchers?
No, I just looked it up. Bill Parsons was the deputy director in 2001.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Bill Parsons was there beside you. Thanks for checking that out, Marty. Who's watching today? Give us a few of the fans of Ozzie out there today.
Hey, we have Dave Stange watching again, and Lisa. I think I copied the name down wrong. I have a delay, but I think that's wrong. Anyway, Doug Forrest, William Whiting,
Hey, Doug.
Steve Hammer, Carlton Bailey, Melissa Pope, Christopher Mick, Sharon Spurlock Rodriguez, and Merluz Korzinski.
Got a lot of people watching around the world.
Cool.
And we're so grateful for that. And comment if you've been to a launch and shook Ozzie's hand here or bought his Rocket Hobo patch there. Because I know some of you have been out there to see him. There you are. That's we actually ripped that shirt off of him because of our green screen. He was like a Casper the Friendly Ghost there for a while there.
Well, I would wear a green shirt to the Spaceview Park because green is for go.
There, oh, okay. Yep. There you go. There you go.
That's the
Go.
reason.
Well, there is Spaceview Park on the crowd coming in for the launch. There you are sitting down, Marty. You can get your pointer out there for a couple things we're going to point out there, as Ozzie will describe to you what exactly where he sits. And
I've got a lawn chair that I put down next to the flagpole. The big flagpole's in the veteran side of the park, and that's where I usually hang out because there's an electrical outlet there that I can plug the amplifier into. And then I plug my phone in and bring up the launch audio because we want to know what's going on.
And the vehicle assembly building, Marty, is easy to be seen right there. Little pillbox 9 miles away across the Indian River. The Indian River is active with pelicans and dolphins and all kinds of anhingas and that amazing swimming bird. I love watching them. But that's a private dock to the condos behind us there.
Yes.
And then we're going to see, there's Ozzie talking. This is almost over 2 years ago because the fence is there from Hurricane Irma wiping out the dock. That hadn't been replaced yet.
Right. And I'll usually give a lecture about half an hour before launch to let people know what's going up, what direction it'll be going in, where to look, what to expect, and answer questions from the tourists out there.
And Ozzie's literally 3 blocks from where we're presenting Stay Curious today in our museum. It's just an easy walk from our museum or back and forth. But some of the launches, and this is from the August 29th evening of the attempt to launch Artemis. Though it was a scrub, boy, some of those scrubs can be kind of magical, and this was a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, anytime there's a big crowd, usually if it's a launch with people on board, there'll be a lot of people in the park. But the Artemis is a special rocket. It's brand new. It's getting a lot of hype from the press. So a lot of people came out to try and watch it.
And there you are, sitting under the light there to the lower right there. Those are the condos in the background there. But it always makes for some interesting pictures. People are on top of one another. And Ozzie, you know these people come early, all right? And they think that nobody else is going to step in front of them.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Them. That lasts 30 minutes before launch.
Well, it doesn't matter if there's anyone standing in front of you at a launch because the rocket will be above their heads very quickly.
There you go. But that 30 minutes before launch, you have this many people there for 3 or 4 hours, and all of a sudden that many people show up and crowd in around everywhere. Some people get a little belligerent that, hey, I've been waiting here all night. You know, you're not going to sit in front of me, are you? And, you know, I guess I am. And you've not seen anything very ugly happen out there, have you?
Not really, no. People are pretty friendly.
I mean,
and they're from all over the country, too.
Oh, the world, too.
Yep. Ohio, Illinois.
There's a view from the neighboring condos that I've been privileged to see a few launches from there.
You have to keep in mind, too, a lot of these folks are actually in Florida to visit the Orlando attractions. And they've learned there was a launch going on. Good grief, where can we go watch it? And they ask their concierge. They usually know about Spaceview Park and can direct them. And, just drop Spaceview Park into your Google Maps or whatever else other software you've got. It'll take you right to the park.
Well, there's the 50 or so people today. This was 11:50 was the launch today, right before noon, and a small but appreciative crowd out there.
Yep.
Ozzie's way in the back there in the green shirt, your usual spot there, and you're retired, and Ozzie has a little contribution jar out there if you want to give him $1 or $2 or 5 or 10 that I know you appreciate.
I do appreciate it. Yep.
And sometimes people are quite generous, I know, because you do a good job out there. And we're glad you can make a little extra, what I call wham. You know what wham is, don't you?
What's that?
Walk around money.
Aha, yes.
But he's always counting it down, trying to get it close. Tell us why, Marty and I kind of joke a little bit, well, he was just 10 seconds off that time or whatever. You don't know with all these radio broadcasts how much their delay is.
Well, usually Stephen Clark on his broadcast will tell you the exact time, to the second. So I will go down to that second just by counting it off on my watch. And when I say 0, like I say, that puppy on the pad usually will light up then and start going.
Well,
and then keep on going. And then keep on going.
0. You just heard Ozzie say 0. Now that is on the
That'll be
south
about
side
15
of the
seconds.
big vehicle assembly building. So we just saw
That's-
launch on
that's
the
from,
left, on the north side.
That's from pad 40.
Pad 40.
You can tell from the position of the VAB.
But that is not on Kennedy Space Center property.
No, it's actually on the property of the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. And
there's another river between the land you see there
Mhm.
and the rocket. That'd be what body of water?
the Banana River.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're looking across the Indian River to Merritt Island, and then the Banana River just kind of comes up almost to the VAB, and they have a port there where the barges will dock. Tugboats will bring the barges in with the rockets on top, and then they will wheel the rockets into the VAB and set them up for launches.
We are a couple more snapshots I've taken there. There you are, big smile on your face,
Yeah.
typical. How it has changed over the decades, from the cell cameras. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it was real cameras. Probably people had a lot of them bulky movie cameras on there.
Yeah.
Speak of that a little bit, of how
Well,
the imagery's evolved.
Even in this picture, you can see people with cameras there pointing kind of up, and then others pointing way up, and they're all watching the rocket as it goes up and following it across the sky. That's really what it's about when you go to watch a launch from Space City Park.
There's one to the north side of the VAB.
Mhm.
And this is
It'll
our
be from-
background shot here.
Yeah, it'll be from 39A.
And you can see the between the VAB and where 39A is being launched,
Is-
that is Kennedy Space Center property, but the tall building in the middle,
That's Launch Complex 41, which is operated by ULA, Boeing, and yep, right there.
and that's on the
That's
property
on
of
the KSC property. The property line is just
41 isn't in that
41 is on KSC property.
oh, okay.
There is a sign between 40 and 41 with the property line.
Oh,
Mhm.
see, Marty's straightening me out over the years of that. That it's Cape. I mean,
Canaveral Space
not on
Force
that
Station.
specifically. I'm sure Marty knows that's on KSC property. So,
But 40 is definitely on the Space Force property.
and these are some old pictures because you don't see the gantry being built for the
Mhm.
Starship complex that
Right.
Musk is doing on 39A on there. So there's another pretty picture. I think it's pretty anyway.
Again, launch
Ozzie,
from 40.
you've seen so many rocket launches.
Mhm.
How many hundreds? And speak of their differences.
No. The term I use when people ask me how many I've seen is countless.
Countless.
Yep. Since 87 and now, I've seen every launch I could possibly try to see. In fact, when I was living in Tampa and couldn't make it over here, I would look to the east and I would actually see space shuttles launching from Canaveral, and I could see them from Tampa.
And if you have a telephoto lens, you can get a lot better view of it. I didn't use any telephoto lenses or show any with it there, but there again, people, they're watching it, they're enjoying it. You wonder how, I mean, take your eye off that screen and look at it, for real,
Yeah.
They're broadcasting to their friends all over the country and the world. How about a pitch for a better Wi-Fi out there? We really
Oh,
could
that would be
use one.
fun. Because every once in a while, I'm trying to receive my launch audio, and nothing's coming in because there's too many people contending for the towers out there.
Yeah.
That happens once in a while,
And
especially when there's a large
you
crowd.
get the solid rocket booster, not the solid rocket booster plume. You get the atmospheric plume, and then you hear the noise rumble.
Yes.
Almost 2 minutes sometimes. Will
Yep.
be the delay.
It takes about 1 minute and 15 seconds for the sound to reach us from the launch pad. But once it starts up, it's a good long rumble.
Yeah.
And I will sometimes turn down the amplifier so that people in the park can hear the actual rumble.
Marty, you got a comment or question?
I didn't. I just forgot what it was.
What did I say wrong there? Again, though, the streak, the rumble at this stage, you can always see the second stage ignite. Night and daylight photos, but the best time to see them is when?
Actually, dusk.
Yeah.
Just as the sun is going down behind us.
Coming up.
Well, dawn, the sun can get in the way kind of sometimes.
True.
But at dusk, I think it's the best time to watch a launch. You don't usually get that choice. You have to go when it's going to go up.
What are some of the more memorable launches that stick out in your head over these decades?
Skylab.
Really?
Yeah, because I flew down from Rochester, New York to watch the Skylab go up with the last Saturn V to leave the Earth. And that was a special rocket launch.
And Mark Usiak.
It was supposed to be a twofer.
Tom Usiak was there. Yeah.
Because it was supposed to be Skylab launching the one day and the manned crew going up the next day. Well, because it had a problem with the solar panel wing breaking off, they didn't launch the crew the next day. They launched 10 days later. But I would say that was my most spectacular launch.
Wow. Did you see the night launch? You didn't see the night launch of 17 then? You were
No,
up in Rochester.
I was in Rochester then.
Yeah, Marty saw it. He loves it. Well, what is so cool living here on the Space Coast is, you can see the first stage rocket come back. Tell us where I took this picture.
Probably from Jetty Park, judging by the rocks there.
Absolutely.
And you can see the little bridge going up and going out on the pier. That's definitely Jetty Park. And you can see out there the tugboats bringing the barge back with a booster on it.
No people are on that barge. It's a drone. And that fascinates me.
Mm-hmm.
That from the start, SpaceX and Elon Musk said, we're just going to be a drone barge out there. Yep. And so it comes into port, and it sits over there, and people around the restaurants, and people are running by it, don't even notice it, except us space geeks, of course. We go, what is that sooty-looking hole over there? All right, and boy, some of them can look pretty dirty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's a beautiful sight to see. The whole SpaceX rocket is 222 feet tall. I think this part of it is the second stage is probably about 60 feet. So this is probably over 120 feet tall there. Mm-hmm. But there's to give you a relationship next to some workers on that drone ship.
Yep.
They do something to put the legs back up there.
Well, there's a couple of cranes out in the port. They will lift the first stage and then close up the legs and then lift the stage a little further, bring it up over shore, and bring it down onto a trailer. That's going to drive it back into the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. They'll drive that through to the Kennedy Space Station. And that's pretty much how they bring them back.
Do you recall what the record is for a single booster now being launched? How many times they've done it?
I believe it was 14. I think this last one was
14. Wow, imagine that. There's one.
This morning was 13 going.
Yeah.
And it was its 14th launch this morning.
Well, we've got to see that, and we also want you all to come and visit Space View Park.
Mm-hmm.
There's a beautiful night shot of the shuttle tribute there at the west side of Space View Park, and during the daytime it's simply gorgeous. There are the pylons that have astronaut handprints at the base. That's what the tilted part is, in bronze. and names of space workers like Marty are on those pylons there. And I was out there the other day to get a picture of the late Jim McDivitt's handprints in bronze out there, and quite a beautiful tribute, Ozzie. I'm enamored by this. As part of why I wanted to be part of the American Space Museum, is this one of a kind homage to our heroes growing up as kids.
And a lot of the folks that work at Kennedy Space Center actually live in Titusville. It's a very convenient place to live for them, and they can just drive right out to the Space Center and be to work in half hour, 45 minutes.
And we're going to have a special Stay Curious program on Monday with Nick Thomas, the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex educator for over 35 years. Nick's going to come and share some of his favorite stories that he's heard about Jim McDivitt. We're getting some pictures from the Usiak brothers, who've attended many times the Space Fest out in Arizona that the Poor family put on for many years, and where Jim McDivitt was recently out there. So we're going to have a wonderful remembrance of Jim McDivitt Monday on our Stay Curious program. I'm calling up some of the old timers affiliated with the museum and trying to get a story or two. Nick Thomas is doing the same. So we'll have a lot of pictures and a true tribute to this one of our space heroes growing up as teenagers and young boys, right?
Absolutely.
There, and of course he was the commander of the first spacewalk that Ed White took. So he took those wonderful, iconic images of Ed White in a spacewalk. They'll live forever, long when we're gone. Those images of Ed White, they just look so surreal and so dangerous in many ways in there. But yes, looking at Chris Calley's piece of artwork there that Mark Usiak's photograph there. We've got this launch coming up. They've got it scheduled for the night of Sunday, Monday morning at 12:07, November 13th, 14th. What else can we look forward to, Ozzie, as rocket launch is coming up?
Let's see. Artemis will be in early November, mid-November, and there should be a few more Starlink launches as well, because Elon really wants to get those satellites out there.
Yeah, we may have up to 5 or 6 more Starlink launches before the end of the year. How many launches was today's launch for the year out of Kennedy Space Center or Cape Canaveral Space Force?
I believe it was 14th. No, I'm not sure.
No. How many total launches this year off the Cape?
Oh, Canaveral. This year. I'm sorry. I think this was the 45th.
45th. Imagine that.
45th.
That's got to be a record.
Yes, it is. They've actually.
There's only 52 weeks in a year. Okay, so and we got a full 2 months left of weeks. So there's a chance to have 10 or 12 more, probably about 10 more launches, including a Falcon Heavy. They haven't set the date for that, but there's an Air Force military satellite that needs to get launched. There's 2 Falcon Heavies that could possibly go up for the end of the year. Looking at my data there. And we got to get the uncrewed Boeing Starliner up there to do its test.
Well, that may be after the first of the year.
Okay.
That depends on how Boeing's doing.
So it's still so busy out there. When you're out there and you've seen all these people out there with sometimes a small crowd like today and then a big mass of people that's going to be out there for the Artemis launch. You're giving commentary and making an impression on people that this might be the only time they have to see a rocket launch.
Well, for a lot of them, they're just on vacation to Orlando, and they actually take time out from their vacation to come over here to watch a rocket launch, because for them, it usually is the only chance they've ever had to see one. They live up north in the Midwest or the Northeast, or even as far as California, and they have to be in the area. And they've never seen a rocket launch, and it's something they really want to see, so they come on over.
And the kids, the grandmas, the grandpas. I mean, it's just an amazing event, no matter what's being launched, right?
They'll say that it's for the kids.
Okay.
Yeah, the parents will say it's for the kids.
Right.
But you can tell.
Well, Nick Thomas of the Space Center says he's seen hundreds and hundreds. He said no two are never alike.
Mm-hmm.
Marty had a gorgeous picture we showed yesterday from his neighborhood of one of those twilight launches with the exhaust plume lighting up in pinks and reds and oranges. So,
But I still live here just so I can watch things go up.
Cool.
I love watching them go up.
Well, we're glad that you're here to educate these people. I think what a privilege you have to be liaisoning your knowledge of the launch. Usually he passes out a little handout. Please come and print those here, okay? If you haven't been handing them out, get your PDF or whatever together, and we'll print those out for you. He's been a great volunteer for our museum for a couple decades. Ozzie Osband. Can't thank you enough for all you do out there, my friend.
Happy to help.
Marty, thank you for another Streamlabs. Do we have anything to clean up on today's show?
Carlton Bailey just commented next Starliner will be crewed first quarter of 2023.
All right. Thank you, Carlton. 2020 next first quarter. We've got a SpaceX launch on Friday night at 11:26 p.m. That'll be interesting to get out of the program that we're going to. This one right here, the Rocketeers. Marty, we'll be able to get out there. You'll be in bed long before that thing rolls up there. But I tease him, but I'm in bed a long time after he gets up in the morning, okay? Because I know when that cat gets up in the morning, and nope, I need a couple more hours of sleep than getting up at 5:30 or at the crack of dawn there. But anyway, Ozzie, we do appreciate everything you do. Rocket Hobo extraordinaire there. And anything you'd like to say to our Stay Curious audience? We've done 740 some shows, Ozzie, Marty and I.
When you get a chance, come on down to Spaceview Park and watch a rocket launch.
There you go. And until the next one, I'm Mark Marquette saying we can't wait to see you in our museum to what? Bridge the space between us. Thank you.